So we've discussed subject pronouns. Now we're moving on to object pronouns. Object pronouns are those pronouns that are the object of a sentence. If they are direct objects, then they receive the action of the verb, right? And if they're indirect, then they are involved with the action of a verb, but they're not quite receiving the action. So a quick example of that would be a quick side lesson. I kicked the ball. Here, ball is the direct object of the sentence because it is receiving the action. The action, of course, being kick. I kicked the ball. I kicked what? The ball. Whereas, if I gave Mary the ball, ball is still our direct object because I am giving the ball. The ball is receiving the action of gave. However, Mary is considered the indirect object because she is involved with the direct object, right? She is the recipient of the ball, but as far as our verb gave is concerned, I gave the ball. I gave Mary a ball. So you can have an indirect object or a direct object as far as pronouns are concerned. For instance, instead of saying I kicked the ball, you could say I kicked it. Or I gave her the ball. Both of these are object pronouns. And you can see, Junior gave me a watch for my birthday. Sarah told you to go to the movies. Now don't forget, you is also a subject pronoun. Not only can you act as a singular or a plural pronoun, but it can also act as a subject or an object pronoun. It is incredibly versatile. Sarah also told you to go to the movies with her. All of us are going to the movies tonight. And then again, we discussed I kicked it, I gave her the ball. Now, let's not forget, with Sarah told you to go to the movies with her. Why would I bold her? Well, it's because, again, with her is a prepositional phrase, right? With is a preposition. Her is the object of the preposition. And don't forget, when we discussed in class a few months ago, that the noun or the pronoun within a prepositional phrase is known as the object of the preposition. Well, if it's an object of a preposition, then that means that a pronoun that's the object of the preposition is naturally an object pronoun. I just wanted to clarify that one because, again, sometimes the use of a pronoun in a preposition gets us confused. For instance, instead of saying between Mike and I, the party is being planned, we would say between, or scratch that, just between you and I think, whatever it is that I think. However, that would be inappropriate because between is a preposition. So rather, we would need to say just between you and me, I think, whatever it is that I think. But that's because between is a preposition. So sometimes the idea of, insert name here and me is perfectly appropriate in some cases, only when it's being used as an object. And objects, when written as we wrote with just between you and I, just between you and me, that acts, the word just and the phrase just between acts as a subordinate clause as well as a preposition, and therefore it is an object, and so it can come at the beginning of a sentence. But again, overall, object pronouns are those pronouns that are in the object of a sentence, and those look like me and us, you versus you, him, her, them is the third person plural object pronoun, them. So me, us, you, him, her, them. These are our object pronouns. Again, they're not going to be quite as often, we don't see them quite as often as subject pronouns, but we do see them fairly often. And so I know that for many of you, this is going to be a review. Our third major pronoun are possessive pronouns. These are the pronouns we had just spoken about possessive pronouns on our chapter on apostrophes, and so if you need a little bit more help or a refresher on what possessive pronouns look like, then by all means either email me, or I certainly recommend referencing our chapter on apostrophes, because that's where we talked about possession and why you should not put an apostrophe with a possessive pronoun. Some examples we have: Dave is my uncle, this drink is yours. Do you notice how we don't have an apostrophe right here at the end of yours? Dave is my uncle, this drink is yours, this is our time to shine. We could say that the pencil is his. His is a possessive pronoun. Her class is running late. Her is a possessive pronoun. And there, and there. We have there, and there. Take a second. Which there is the possessive pronoun? Right. It is going to be T-H-E-I-R. Their intelligence has soared. Right? Their intelligence is incredibly high. They're smart people. Their intelligence. Right. These are our possessive pronouns. An our can also end in S as well. The classroom is ours, right? Same thing. Similarly, yours could be changed to just your. Your pencil has fallen on the floor. There are many different possessive pronouns. Again, I highly recommend going back and reviewing the chapter on apostrophes to kind of briefly go over, see the chart of possessive pronouns, but these are the third most common pronouns. Now we're going to briefly go over the following pronouns, the rest of our 6 pronouns that we need to discuss. However, I do want you to remember that you won't see these quite as often in our writing, but I also want to let you know that we're going to be coming across a lot of really big words and strange foreign words for discussing these next pronouns, but I promise you've seen these pronouns in use. And some of the pronouns that you're about to see we've used in class before, we just haven't identified them as these specific types of pronouns yet. So, feel free to reference this video often as we go back over and discuss these kinds of pronouns, but also know that some of these pronouns are pronouns that you've seen before. The first of these are intensive and reflexive pronouns. Now, a reflexive pronoun is a pronoun, both of these pronouns end in self or selves, as you can see right here. What a reflexive pronoun does is it lets the reader know that the person, be it the antecedent or the pronoun, right? We don't have to say he taught himself. We could say, Andre taught himself how to play the guitar. What a reflexive pronoun does is it is an antecedent that tells us that the action that has been done to the person. So Andre taught himself how to play the guitar. Andre didn't teach him how to play the guitar. He didn't teach, Andre how to play the guitar. You could say that Andre taught Andre how to play the guitar, but again, going way back to the very beginning, that would be kind of awkward. But himself, this addition of self to make himself, lets us know that Andre taught Andre how to play the guitar. That's what a reflexive pronoun does, is that the subject does a thing to itself, to the subject. So Andre taught Andre how to play the guitar. Another way to look at this might be Sarah drove herself to the doctor's office, right? Sarah drove Sarah to the doctor's office. That's what a reflexive pronoun does, and that's how it acts in the sentence. It lets the reader know that the action that the subject does is being done to the subject by the subject. Now, intensive pronouns are written and used for effect. The club members themselves have offered to support the initiative. This is a kind of double naming. In all of this, the themselves is telling us that it's the club members who are supporting the initiative. So we could say the club members have offered to support the initiative, and the sentence makes perfect sense. But if we add the themselves right here, it adds a little extra emphasis that it's the club members who are offering to support the initiative. We might also see a sentence that says, the doctors themselves are paying out of pocket to support Doctors Without Borders. Oops. I was thinking there was an apostrophe in there, but there's not, for Doctors Without Borders. Paying out of pocket to support Doctors Without Borders. Andre himself learned how to play guitar. Again, this is to add a little extra emphasis and a little extra chutzpah to your sentence. Now, there is a type of reflexive or intensive pronoun that makes its way throughout social circles, and I want you to know that it does not exist. His self. His self does not exist. It is himself. And the reason why is because his is a possessive pronoun, and we don't mix that kind of possessive pronoun with a reflexive or intensive pronoun. So it is himself, it is not his self. Again, I know that that's a pronoun that makes its way throughout some social circles. Some people say it, some people don't. But I wanted to let you know now that that's not a word. So it is himself. Now, in our next video, we will be finishing up our last pronouns. They shouldn't take quite as long to work through. We'll just kind of briefly summarize those videos as well. Alrighty.